like that? Yeah, sweet. Folks, there's plenty of food up there, so if you want seconds, please go get some. Plenty of food.
Cutting the cord. Reuters TV is TV news redesigned for your phone. Watch it when you want, where you
want me. Ooh, anytime that you need me. Ooh, anytime that you want me to. Ooh, anytime that you need me. I'm standing here with my arms a mile wide. I'm hoping and praying for you. Listen to me and enlighten me. Yeah. Anytime that you need me. A spark is all I need to take it away out of the shadows. Well, what more can I say? Oh, anytime, anytime at all.
I've just been informed that dessert is now being served. They're actually going to bring it to your table, so they'll come all around the tables. And if you'd like cake for dessert, we have cake.
Running wild, yeah. Things are getting clearer. Oh, this time everything is alright. Go away, she's gonna get away. This time everything is easy any day. I'm gonna make her mine. I thought of every word I'd say. Give or take a few. But she turns and slowly walks away. I could stay awake just to hear you breathing. Watch you smile while you are sleeping, while you're far away dreaming. I could spend my life in this sweet surrender. I could stay lost in this moment forever. Every moment spent with you is a moment I treasure.
Cheryl Peabody, would you come to the front, Cheryl? Okay, folks. Okay, folks. No. All right, folks. This is your 5-minute warning. So if you need to go to the bathroom or use the restroom or whatever, we're going to try to start the production in about 5 minutes. At this time, what I need is folks that have already been inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame. If you are already a member of the Sports Hall of Fame, not tonight's inductees, current members, I need you to meet me in this back hallway, please, at this time.
Those times I waited for you seem so long ago. I wanted you far too much to ever let you go. You know you never got by your feeling too, and I guess I never could stand to lose. It's such a pity to say goodbye to you, goodbye to you. Could I ever love someone like the one I see in you? I remember the good times, baby, now, and the bad times too. These last few weeks of holding on, the days are dull, the night.
There's a tradition in tournament play to not talk about the next step until you've climbed the one in front of you. I'm sure going to the state finals is beyond your wildest dreams, so let's just keep it right there. Forget about the crowds, the size of the school, their fancy uniforms, and remember what got you here. Focus on the fundamentals that we've gone over time and time again. And most important, don't get caught up thinking about winning or losing this game. If you put your effort and concentration into playing to your potential, to be the best that you can be, I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game, in my book, we're going to be winners. Okay? All right. Let's go. Let's go. Let me hear it. Go, 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 go.
Okay, folks, if you can take your seat, we're about to begin. We're probably 30 seconds away. Angie, can you remind those folks just to sit down? I'm not sure they hear me.
In Farmington, sports are a tradition that is passed on from generation to generation. What started with a small-town barber now includes members that span decades, athletes, contributors, teams that have defined excellence of their era and inspired teams of the future. Tonight we present the prestigious Allison Award. Tonight we introduce the Moulton Medal of Honor. And tonight we induct a new deserving class. We are Farmington. And this is our Hall of Fame.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2016 induction ceremony of the Farmington Sports Hall of Fame. This event is proudly brought to you by the Farmington 500 Boys and Girls Club. And now, the host of tonight's event and your master of ceremonies, a 2014 Hall of Famer, Mr. Joel Shagnon.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2016 induction ceremony of the Farmington Sports Hall of Fame. We are live right now, feeding out to YouTube, courtesy of KJ Cardinal and Pack Network. So at this time, before we begin anything else, we have several Hall of Famers in the house. Let's welcome the current members of our Farmington Sports Hall of Fame. First, from the class of 2014, Julie Gessner. And Lynette Place. From the class of 2012, Coach Cheryl Peabody. From the class of 2010, Mr. Ron Shagnon. From the class of 2008, Coach Mike Lee. From the class of 2006, Sandy Wells. And Mr. Jim Cook. from the class of 2004, Tony Quinn. And Mr. Bill Vashon. And from the inaugural class of 2002, Mr. Paul Moulton. Zeke Garib. And the oldest member of the Farmington Hall of Fame, Buzz Moulton. Yeah, you can head back to your table. We're going to introduce our head table at this point. We're going to go way, way down to the far end of the room. We're going to introduce our head table. Introducing first, with her husband Chuck, the secretary of the 500, Kim Richard. With his wife Kelly, then officer of the 500, Mr. Gabe Terrance. With his wife Julie, another officer of the 500, Mr. Aaron Lord. Officer Shane Tufts. With his wife Heather, the vice president of the 500, Tom Boudreau. With his wife Chrissy, the president of the 500, Dawn Pelletier. Hall of Fame committee member and a Hall of Famer herself, Zeke Garib. And my technical assistant all the way up from Florida, Mr. Steve Durrance. Yesterday, as you all know, was Veterans Day. At this time, are there any veterans in the house? I would like all veterans to stand up tonight. We thank you for your service. At this time, I would ask everyone to please rise. Before we play our national anthem, as every good sporting event should kick off with, we have lost one Hall of Famer since our last induction ceremony. He passed away almost a year ago to this. Before we begin the actual ceremony, I've got a few thank yous to give out. First of all, how about that meal by Brenda Page? Let's have a round of applause for Brenda and her crew. Turn my mic down a little bit. Also, I'd like to thank the Farmington School District. They are always very generous to let us use their facility and all of their equipment, specifically Mr. Larry Gordon, our facilities manager, and his custodial crew, which did a lot of the pre-setup before we get into the gym. So a round of applause, please, for the Farmington School District. Can you go up slightly? If you take a look at the program that's been placed on your table this evening, lots of, you don't have to right now, but lots of great ads in there from great local businesses in the local area. So the best way to say thank you to them is to stop by and visit them and give them a call when you have a need. So thank you to all the local businesses that helped to sponsor tonight's event. Also, I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame Committee. We started working on this year's Hall of Fame 1 year ago. We started meeting last November of 2015, so it's been a lot of work. The last few days are crazy to pull it all off, but I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame Committee, as well as some of the members of the 500 Board of Directors. Aaron and Dawn were here earlier today, climbing ladders and helping with the decorations, and I thank you very much for being here as well. One big thank you, if you already haven't figured out by looking at the opening clip with Buzz, our oldest member of the Hall of Fame, narrating it, KJ Cardinal of PAC Network, who's here tonight with his wife Angie and his friend Adam Mitchell, putting together this production and taping it tonight. But KJ's done an unbelievable amount of work on this, so I'd like a round of applause for KJ Cardinal. Are we ready to start the 2016 induction ceremony? Come on. All right. Tonight, we begin with a new and very special honor. The Hall of Fame Committee for the past few years has discussed finding a way to acknowledge individuals who have been a proud part of our story, individuals who have contributed to Farmington athletics in very unique ways, individuals who have been a friend to the Farmington community for many, many years. The committee will bestow upon these individuals a medal of honor, so to speak. And now, what do we call that medal? We needed a name that demonstrated the true meaning of contribution, for love of community, for true and pure selflessness. A name that has served as an example to others. A name respected by all in our little town. A name one is proud to know and proud to call friend. We needed to look no further than Green Street. This family's contributions to our community span over 6 decades, and collectively, total service over 120 years. The Hall of Fame Committee is proud, very proud, to introduce to you the Moulton Medal of Honor. Ladies and gentlemen, the Moulton family is here with us tonight in their entirety to help present the very first Moulton medals. Please welcome Sophie, Brady, Kelton, Mike, Jamie, Corey, Paul, and Buzz, the Moultons.
And this is my time. Yeah, this is my town. Hey, where I was born, where all my yesterdays, where I ran man, where I came back, said me.
And now the intro clip for our very first honoree.
If there's a guy that I was almost obsessed with growing up in Farmington, it was Terry McGargan.
Terry was the voice of the Tigers.
He was very enthusiastic, and he
wanted, I don't think just Farmington, but I think he wanted to promote athletics in the area.
You loved going to the games and being at the games, but you couldn't wait for New England Cablevision to air it because you couldn't wait to hear how Terry was going to call it. I mean, it was so colorful and animated.
He always had nicknames for all of us, and actually most of the nicknames stuck. We'd make fun of each other in practice and call each other by those names.
Gunnar Gilman,
The Funk Dunk,
Chairman of the boards,
Slamma-Jamorama,
Sister Soroy.
the RT Express.
So he did have his little nicknames that he would use, and it stuck too, because we all used those nicknames.
And then recently we found out, doing a little bit of research, that he called the game in 1970 on local radio, the championship game in 1970. Paul Moulton had a copy of that. I mean, we didn't even know it existed.
This is Terry McGargan along with Bert Cannavale and John Campbell. We're in Durham for the Class M championship game between the Farmington Tigers and the Merrimack Strikers. Farmington with the ball now. Reynolds drives the lane, finds it open, he shoots around and scores! Danny Reynolds, a nice play. No good. Moulton on the rebound, he shoots, he scores! Pistol ball, pop and Paul. How about that? Pop and Paul Moulton. He shoots again. Oh, no good. Rebounded by Paul Moulton. Moulton with the ball. Cross court to Hager. Allen looks. He stops and he pops. Scores! 83-68. It's now a 15-point ball. Rebounded up. 8 seconds. Almost stolen. 6 seconds. 5, 4, 3. Hit the buzzer this shot. Goes in 2 seconds. 1. The ball goes out. The game's over. Farmington has done it. They've won the championship. Farmington has won the championship. It's all over. The Farmington Tigers under head coach Art Parisi have won the championship. As it seems, it's a mob scene on the floor. A 95-83 win for Farmington over a very game Merrimack High School team.
Everything was personalized. It was like he was just our announcer. Nobody else's, just ours.
He made an impact on our team, and we appreciate that he promoted our team as well, because I think, you know, at a time when girls sports probably wasn't as big back then, he helped us get on the map.
as we were trying to get on the map, he helped put us on the map.
He put Farmington on the map. Yeah, he loved Farmington.
He did. He helped put Farmington sports sort of on the map locally because couldn't wait to watch and listen to Terry. A great voice, but even a greater man.
He was a great guy, did a lot of great things for the Farmington area, and we enjoyed and truly miss him.
A lot of complimentary feedback came from him to our players and to our school system.
And you're watching the Farmington Faithful. These are the people who make this beautiful school with beautiful people work. Some of the greatest people that we know live here in this town, and we're so proud to be associated with them.
It is appropriate that the very first recipient ever of the Moulton Medal be a man who was beloved by all who met him, a man who we listened to in our living rooms on local cable, a man who had affectionate nicknames for local athletes, a man who coined phrases that we still talk about today. That man, Terry McGargan, for who can forget the phrase, number 12 on the court, but number 1 in our hearts? Or the fourth and final, the fickle, fatal final fourth. Yes, Terry McGargan was our friend. He was an ambassador for Farmington Athletics, dating back to his radio call of the 1970 state championship. He may have been a resident of nearby Rochester, but to Farmington, he belonged to us. We respected him, we loved him, and we certainly do miss him. And that is why we are very proud to present the first ever Moulton Medal to Terry McGargan. Terry passed away in 2001, but we are very fortunate to have someone here tonight to accept on his behalf. It was originally scheduled to be his daughter and son. I got a text message. His daughter is here. She is? I didn't know you came in. I am so sorry. I got a text message saying you weren't here. We were going to have Mike Lee step in, but apparently his daughter is here. Please welcome the daughter of Terry McGargan.
Tangible and say thank you for being thank you for being a friend. Thank you for if it's a car you like.
My father was involved with Rochester, New Hampshire. They had a radio show. He did cable, he did TV events, he did local sporting events. One of the things that he did was the Spalding Red Raiders and the Midget League football, and he was very involved. And I'm not sure how many of you younger people remember tape recorders, cassette players? Well, when I was a little girl, my brother and I would sneak my father's cassette player away, and there was some music, there was different things on it, and we would play. Years later, I found out that at a Spalding Red Raiders game, as the national anthem went off, dun 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 dun, you heard, "Good evening, this is Karen McGargan, Channel 4 News." My father was very involved with the Rochester sports, but he also became very involved and loved the community of Farmington. And I'll be honest with you, I don't remember him doing the basketball games. I was young, college, doing my thing. But I do remember when he became involved with the young athletics group, the baseball teams. He said to me, "Karen, they don't have any money. They're out there playing in their jeans and their work boots, but you know what they have that Rochester doesn't have? Heart. They have love of the game." He was out there and he's watching these kids bat the ball and slide into the bases and having a heck of a great time, and he was so thrilled to watch everyone having a good time. And it's that love, the love of the game, the love of the community, the love of all of you. He would say to you tonight, as the McGargan family says to you, thank you for this honor, but it is the honor that goes to you, the athletic director, the coaches, the parents, the athletes that put in the tireless effort, the time to support your community, to support these teams, to make it what it has grown to be today. So on behalf of the McGargan family, thank you so much for remembering my dad.
Say thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend.
I do want to mention briefly that we do have one chair I didn't mention. There is one chair that is no one is seated in. We have a rose here, and it's in loving memory of Gloria Moulton Vachon, who would complete this group because she was a Hall of Famer and a great volunteer. So let's have a round of applause for Gloria.
John's been a great friend to Farmington, a consistent friend to Farmington, a longtime friend of Mike Whaley, and was the graphic designer. And every year, at no charge, he designs the wiffle ball shirt.
Back in the early 90s when we were doing the wiffle ball tournament, I finally said, hey, why don't you design a wiffle ball shirt? And in the last 25 years, he's designed 23.
Yeah, he takes pop culture, he takes current things that are on your mind and sort of blends them in.
Each of these little subtle rip-offs of that event. So the 96 Olympics, the 94 World Cup.
One year it was Magic Bat instead of Magic Hat after the beer. We wait in anticipation every year. What's he gonna do? Just when you don't think that he can top what he's done before, he does.
And then he also did some other things. When the baseball team won state championships, he designed those 2 t-shirts.
And in 2001, when we held the only regional tournament that's ever been held in Farmington, New England Regional Tournament,
designed the program cover
he did an outstanding job. He's got one of those unique contributions that we felt was suited for the first ever Moulton Medal.
And he's always been a friend, I think, of Farmington.
Our next Moulton Medal honoree has been a friend of Farmington for 25 years. When you mention the name John Dauphiny, many people say, "Who's that? I don't think I know him." Well, maybe you've never met the man, but you've definitely met his work. He is the special talent behind well over 20 of the wiffle ball t-shirt designs. Every year, the t-shirt design is often more anticipated sometimes than the tournament itself. What will it be? What will he come up with next? In addition to the annual wiffle ball design, he has also designed 2 t-shirts for baseball state championships here in town. And in 2001, we were very fortunate to have John design the cover for Farmington's 10 and under Cal Ripken Regional Baseball Tournament. In fact, tonight's program that sits before you, the cover was designed by the talented John Dauphiny. So you see, you may not have known the name, but you certainly knew the work. I encourage you later tonight to introduce yourself to John and thank him for the friendship he has extended to our community for the past quarter of a century. So now you know his work, let's meet the man. Ladies and gentlemen, our next Moulton Medal honoree, our good friend, John Dauphiny.
There's nothing like the view from the cheap seats. The game was close, we'll call it a win. Go off to toast the boys again. That local band is back in town. They got a kind of minor league sound. They're not that bad.
Hey everyone, it's certainly an honor and a privilege to be part of this inaugural Moulton Medal class, and this is not something I expected. I was just trying to do my thing and help the good people of Farmington, and through my friend Mike Whaley, he got me involved, and it's just sort of became something new year after year. The big challenge for me is trying to come up with something new every year that's will support promote the cause, and also bring in some funds for the club and not embarrass myself. So that's the challenge. Try and stay current, try and stay relevant, and it's really been a win-win for me, because there's been times when my my job wasn't a very creative job. It was more how it is. You go to work and come home and so on and so forth. So this is one of those outlets for me that was something I look forward to working on every year, and kept me in the graphic design field. So truly a win-win for me as far as I'm concerned, and hopefully for the community. So thank you very much. Thank you, Moulton family.
Nothing like the view from the cheap seats.
So first of all, he's a great human being, just a gentleman.
Bobby is a true gentleman.
Bob, is just a gentleman.
Bob is recognized by the Referees Association as a top-rated official.
And I think has brought a professionalism to officiating at this level here in our state.
Bob would always conduct himself, in my opinion, as a professional.
Well respected and appreciated.
I think he does the job right, and has done it right for years.
He was an outstanding referee, and in those days, there were certain referees that we had a lot of, and they were very consistent, and you had a good relationship with them. Bobby was one of them.
Yeah, I've seen him do games in Farmington, and Farmington's not an easy place to do a game.
Farmington crowd could get very rowdy, and if he said like, oh, you have to talk to this person and calm them down, he didn't want to make a big deal about a lot of things.
Soft-spoken, even-tempered.
Keeps it low key. If there's something that needs to be said, he'll do it so that there's not a big distraction. There's not this big hullabaloo. He'll just go up to the coach or go up to a player and just a whisper.
For years, Bob set up the officials for various tournaments that the 500 Boys Club runs, and they would use that as a venue to rate their officials.
The boosters and the holiday tournament, and Mike Lee said, all you have to do is call Bob Hodgson and send him the schedule, and he'll set it all up for you at no charge.
He loved Farmington, you could tell that he did, and he had a great respect for the community and all the athletic teams.
Bob's really somebody that you want on your team, and I guess we're a pretty fortunate community to have him as part of our team, although he's a topper.
We always love it when Bobby comes into town to referee a game. He's part of our story.
Our next and final Molten Medal honoree usually brings with him to town a striped shirt and a whistle. However, there's much more to him than just calling a game. Bob Hodgson has been a friend to our community for over 3 decades. Now let's face the facts here. Officiating basketball in Farmington is not the most desirable task at times. Certainly not always a warm and fuzzy and feel-good type of scenario. Yet for Bob Hodgson, it's been different. Yes, I'm sure we've taken exception to a call or two of his over the years, or maybe even a few more than that. But our respect for Bob Hodgson certainly outweighs our disagreement over a call. In fact, when we were rifling through video footage for tonight's event, Bob was officiating a Christmas tournament final game between our 89 girls and our arch nemesis, Co-Brown Northwood Academy. And in the first 38 seconds of the game, Bob called the tee on Tom Hall. So there's another reason to love Bob Hodgson right there. Bob has scheduled officials at no cost to the boosters for close to 30 years for the annual holiday tournament, and has scheduled apprentice floor tests during the annual 500 JV tournament so that they can save money on the cost of officials and more money can go back to their program. You know, we've had many, many great moments on the basketball court here in Farmington over the years, and Bob Hodgson has been alongside for many of them. He is part of our story. Ladies and gentlemen, our final Molten Medal honoree of the evening, our friend, Mr. Bob Hodgson.
They're playing basketball
all around the world. To the beach, y'all. Let's go. All around the world. Y'all know this is so.
You know, it really is great to see so many faces out there that I know have cheered all my great calls in this gym over the years. I know that. Farmington has always had a list of individuals and families who have been great supporters of Farmington High School athletics and activities. I'm very confident in saying that the Moulton family has always been near the top of that list. Every community needs someone like the Moultons. I'm truly honored to be one of the first recipients of the Moulton Medal. Thank you to the Farmington 500 Boys and Girls Club, and thank you to the Moulton family. Thank you.
They're playing basketball
all around the world.
Diane. Who ever called her Diane? Not me. We called her Pinky. She would run up down the floor and she'd turn just as red as could be.
She was, part of that 67, 68 girls group that was, so awesome, undefeated in every sport.
She was a sophomore on that 1968 team that was undefeated.
For her to be able to be a sophomore with all that talent, especially the junior and senior talent that year, several of those women.
Diane. Who ever called her Diane? Not me. We called her Pinky. She would run up down the floor and she'd turn just as red as could be.
She was, part of that 67, 68 girls group that was, so awesome, undefeated in every sport.
She was a sophomore on that 1968 team that was undefeated.
For her to be able to be a sophomore with all that talent, especially the junior and senior talent that year, several of those women are in the Hall of Fame.
Basketball, I remember her having to go in and replace Gloria Vachon because Gloria had blown out her knee. And this sophomore is like, what'd I do? But she came in like a champ.
Good ball player, good sport. Yeah, she played to win.
She's the daughter of Hall of Famer Everett Pageau, and she married into a Hall of Fame family, the Quinn family.
She was not only an athlete, but she was a friend.
We now move into the induction part of the Hall of Fame, and our first inductee of the evening brings us back to the late 1960s, where in 1967-68, every girls' sports season went undefeated and won 3 Southeastern League championships. Our inaugural ceremony saw the induction of 3 of its senior leaders, Zeke Garib, Sandy Tilton, and the late, great Gloria Vachon. Later, we inducted a junior standout from those teams, Candy Whalen. Tonight, we induct the sophomore of the gang, Diane Pageau Quinn. Diane is a 1970 graduate of Farmington High School and was a standout in all 3 sports. Noted for her quickness, she was an integral part of their legendary success. A graduate of Plymouth State College, she is a lifelong educator who has taught for over 40 years. In 2008, we honored those undefeated teams and presented them with a banner that forever recognizes their achievements and hangs in the Farmington High School gymnasium. It's safe to say that we may never see 3 undefeated seasons in one year again. Diane has Hall of Fame in-laws, a Hall of Fame husband, a Hall of Fame father, and shares tonight with a soon-to-be Hall of Fame brother-in-law. Tonight, the legendary 67-68 girls group is complete. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome home Diane Quinn.
This is for all you girls about 25 in little apartments, just trying to get by.
This was not expected. I just had the time of my life in high school. I was with some amazing people that were just super athletes, but better people. They taught me to love athletics. My dad in the stands and his friends. Looking around here, I remember Saturdays when we all were coaches, and luckily Buzz, my dad, and Bill Vachon gave up their day and just stayed with us. We always took on the boys at that time because we did have some super seasons, and my husband finally had one too. So, in fact, I have to tell you a little story. When Joel called and I answered the phone, I thought Tony was getting another award. So, thank you, but more importantly, I did want to say this. This town has always known that it takes a village to raise a child. I'm in education. This is my 40th year as a teacher. And every time I come back here, I see all the dedicated people. I hear them in the springtime. I see the new park that you have for children. And I've always loved Farmington, and I just can't, looking at all of you, you all deserve a big hug, because children need everyone helping them with opportunities, and athletics and people caring are the things that make success. So thank you, Farmington.
This one's for the girls. This is for all you girls about 25. In little apartments, just
Carl Quinn, we go back to 6th grade. I was at Northwood Elementary School playing basketball, and we always played Farmington.
Certainly was on that junior high team when we inducted George Kukunis, and we heard so much about that great junior high team that went 32-0 and won every tournament that they played in. Carl was a major factor.
He was a great basketball player too. I mean, he could jump, he had a great jump shot, he was a good defender, could handle the ball, he could do a lot of things, very versatile.
Soccer is where he really stood out.
Carl was a heck of a soccer player. When I was a junior, they beat us, I believe, 3 times during the season, including the playoffs. And those are the best Farmington soccer teams ever right there, that stretch. And Carl Quinn was right in the middle of it.
Went on to play at a college level.
He went on to play some soccer at Springfield College, and he did track as well. He was a great athlete and very competitive, but he after the game, first to shake your hand.
Doc Quinn always felt strongly that both Tony and Carl should be inducted. Tony was inducted a number of years ago, and he was right. Carl deserved it too, so Carl will be going in this year as well.
Our next inductee and our last inductee are fairly familiar with each other. Carl, the son of Hall of Famers Dr. and Mrs. Quinn, and the younger brother of Hall of Famer and 19 state champion Tony Quinn, made his mark later on in the 70s. A tremendous 4-sport athlete, Carl excelled in baseball, track and field, basketball, and most notably, soccer. He received high school All-American honors in basketball and won his team's MVP his senior year. Arguably the best seasons Farmington High School has ever seen in the sport of soccer were in 1975 and 76, where teams went back-to-back to the state tournament and celebrated first-round wins both years. Carl was soccer MVP and made All-State his senior year. But not only did Carl excel in high school, he went on to prep school at Kimball Union Academy, where he received all-state prep school honors in soccer and set records in track and field, and later played track and field and soccer for Springfield College. Carl participated in the very first Hall of Fame in 2002, where he accompanied his father, the late Dr. Huck Quinn, to the podium to be inducted. And now, 14 years later, he returns. Doc always said Tony and Carl were Hall of Famers. Well, Tony was inducted in 2004, and now we can look up again and say, Doc, there's another Quinn in the hall. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome home our next athlete inductee, Carl Quinn.
Thank you. I want to thank the 500 Boys and Girls Club for hosting these events and recognizing people and their past contributions, either individually or as groups. But also looking up on the wall there, I want to thank them for inducting my parents, Dr. and Mrs. Quinn. in their inaugural Hall of Fame program. You know, for me as a kid, growing up in Farmington, I was lucky to have two parents that really supported not only myself, my sister, and my brother's athletic pursuits and what they wanted to do. And I really appreciate you guys including them in the first go-around. You know, I always think of the 500 Boys Club, and the first thing that comes to my mind is the winters as a kid, coming up here on a Saturday, 12 o'clock noontime. You'd come into the gymnasium, and there would be boxes or bags with different colored uniforms. And as a kid, that really told you that you're going to be a part of something. And that means whether you were a good athlete or you weren't such a good athlete, but you're going to participate. And as Sonny DiPrizio put it when he was inducted, I think in 2014, he basically said it develops character, and it really does. That's a great foundation for a lot of kids. And it's great for the kids of Farmington that can go through this and really have quite an experience to develop them as an individual. I want to thank Mike Whaley for nominating me for this, Mike. This really does mean a lot to me, coming from someone who I competed against in junior high, but also in high school. You know, particularly with, you know, I call Mike Whaley and the Kingsley boys. It was a great rivalry. We had a lot of fun, and that's what I viewed a lot of the athletics that I played in high school. It was fun. And coming from a school the size of Farmington, it's not a big school, but the great thing about it is you can play one sport, but if you're good enough, you can play more than one. And so the thing I shared with a lot of my teammates or even classmates, we actually, you know, we played 3 different sports at least. And that was quite a group of people that I grew up with in the 1970s. That's the most important thing to me. It's not the events, it's the awards are great, but it's really the people who you got to play sports with and be such a great close friend with. And that's the most important thing to me. Junior high with George Kakunis. I was lucky to be on the 32-0 team. I think as kids we didn't realize what we had accomplished, but I think the most common ingredient was we actually had fun. And I think between playing Little League basketball and playing for George Kakunis, with the influence of my father and also even my brother Tony, the 3 principles that I actually picked up as a foundation was teamwork, sportsmanship, and discipline. That's something that I tried to carry not just from high school, but even when I went to prep school on into college. Those are the 3 principles that I tried to maintain. There's a few people that I want to thank throughout my high school career as well. I want to make sure I thank the coaches that gave me an opportunity to participate. It's as simple as that. That's probably the most thing that I pride, and I appreciate those individuals for doing that for me. So certainly any of the coaches that were in the Little League program, George Kakunis, I have a lot of respect for him. He really had a vested interest in students, not only as athletes, but I think academically as individuals. I want to thank Walter Butch Garland for JV basketball, 2 years of RC baseball. I want to thank Rick Rogers for 2 years of high school basketball, 4 years of RC soccer. I want to thank my brother Tony Quinn for my junior and senior year in high school. Those are the people that I value the most in terms of the opportunities that they provided to me. I appreciate this recognition, and I want to wish everybody a good evening.
Larry would do anything so kids had somebody to go to. He would unlock the door, he would open the fields, he would go down and hit the balls to kids, just so that they could play.
Larry, what a great guy. First of all, a great volunteer, because he was not there just for his children. He was there for everybody's kids.
He seemed to know all the kids, and the kids all liked him. He could be rough, and it appeared to be gruff with some of them, but he had a personality that I think most kids enjoyed.
He had this gruffness to him. He was loud. I mean, you knew when Larry was coaching, he was loud, but not in a way that kids couldn't handle it.
He was loud, but the kids respected him.
Larry would get those kids going, and of course it would be just, how fast can you play? And he would have those kids going, and he would be running his mouth the whole game, and he didn't care what anybody thought. He didn't care. He only cared about those kids.
I mean, they loved playing for Larry Lover. You know, parents loved having their kids play for Larry Lover. You knew he was gonna push your kid, and you knew they were gonna work hard, but you knew they were gonna learn. They had fun.
But Larry gave it everything he got, whether it was being a spectator and a supporter to coaching baseball.
When you talk about Babe Ruth and youth baseball to anybody from that era, they always talk about Larry Lover.
But it also just went beyond being there on the field. Larry would be in the concession stand, making sure he was in the way long enough so that he knew everybody was going to take care of business, so then he'd get out of the way.
He also ran the show, you know, and made sure that it was a well-run league and that kids were learning, and he selected great coaches to help coach alongside of him. It was a strong, strong program then because of Larry Lover.
It was more than a pastime for him. It was come from inside.
Always wanted the best for the kids and went out of his way to do it. Loved it. He loved it.
He was an all-pro as far as, you know, Little League program went. That was devotion.
To focus in on our next inductee, we turn to the world of youth baseball and basketball. And we honor a man who was one of the faces of the 500 organization in the 80s and into the 90s, Larry Lover. The gruff, often loud and boisterous coach was respected by fellow coaches, perhaps feared by some to an extent, but absolutely adored by community youth, especially those who played for him. Larry Lover embodies what the 500 volunteer is all about. Larry was a coach to all, not just his children. He coached basketball, but baseball is where he made his impact. Not only a fiercely competitive coach, Larry was also the league president for many years during the 80s era and into the 90s. Not only did he organize the league and coach, he worked concession stands, organized fundraisers, mowed lawns, worked on fields. There was really no limit to what Larry would not do for the 500 and the children of that era. He left the league in 1992 to move on to the Babe Ruth League, where he coached for a number of years. The 500 has seen lots of coaches in over 60 years of existence. But what makes Larry Lover a Hall of Famer? His dedication to all kids, his endless hours of service to the 500 in just about every volunteer capacity. But most of all, the impact he made on those he coached. I took over the youth baseball program after Larry stepped down, and every once in a while, as I was running around the park, I'd catch a glimpse of Larry leaning on the left field fence, stopping by to check things out and make sure that things were going well. I'd give him a wave, and he'd give me a thumbs up, and I knew Larry was content. Talk to any man who played youth baseball in Farmington during the 80s and early 90s, and that man will fondly remember Larry Lover. Larry was unable to be here tonight, but two of his proud children are here tonight to accept on their dad's behalf. Two outstanding Farmington athletes in their own right. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of our next inductee, Larry Lover, please welcome his daughter, Carrie Conway, and son, Sean Lover.
evening. My brother Sean and I are here tonight to accept this award on behalf of our father. I sensed a theme when I was watching this. Our dad is a gruff guy. But he is doing well. He is very loud. And he's still loud. He's doing well. He's living in Bow, New Hampshire, next to 3 of his grandchildren. He couldn't be with us tonight. He's feeling a little under the weather. But if he were here tonight, he would talk to you about how much he loved his community and how much he loved coaching and how he thought of each one of those kids as a kid of his own. Dad was very vocal. In fact, when I walked into the gym this evening, I flashed back to a time when I was a sophomore in high school playing basketball against Newmarket, and Dad was sitting over here in the bleachers, and he got into a fight with a fan from Newmarket and got thrown out of the gymnasium. That was common back in the day. In fact, when he was a coach through the 500 Boys Club, some of his coaching tactics today, I think, would have had him arrested. From verbal altercations to physical altercations, but Dad was a great coach. He had passion, compassion, heart, and he challenged every kid to be better than they were. And for that, we love him, and we thank you very much.
I'm ready to play today. Put me in cold. I'm ready to play today. Look at me. I can be center field.
Bobby Gibbs. Yeah, well, I knew her when she was Bobby Wells. We grew up together in town.
She started out as an athlete, and she worked very hard at it. And somewhere or another, she decided that she didn't want to be an athlete anymore. But she was 16 years old when she took over coaching.
She helped with some of the youth programs when she was in high school.
Then she starts her own family, and then she jumps right back into it. And Bobby stepped up to do the treasury. And being the treasurer of the 500 is probably one of the most difficult, time-intensive jobs that the 500 has.
She just gives and gives and gives till it hurts.
Not only has she been involved with the 500, but she's also volunteered for the Booster Club. She's always there to help out with the Christmas tournaments, whatever we've needed her for. She's been a constant at the 500 now. That's been the one constant board member over the past decade.
She would do anything and everything she could to help me and the programs do everything possible.
She started out as an athlete. She's going in tonight as a contributor.
She truly cares about Farmington, and she is probably one of the most positive people I know.
It is a no-brainer that tonight she becomes a Hall of Famer.
We now go from the world of youth baseball to the world of youth softball, where our next inductee began her volunteerism at the age of 16. Bobby Wells, back in those days, began coaching youth softball for Zeke Garib when she was at the young age of 16 years old. Many of us who were friends of Bobby would often walk down to Fernald Park to watch her coach. She took a short break from volunteering and started a family with her husband, Doug, who then began to coach as his boys became involved in youth sports. And then Bobby returned to the volunteer ranks as a team mom, and then joined the 500 Board of Directors as the treasurer, a position that she has held for the past 11 years and counting. The treasurer position has no off-season. It requires organization, efficiency, and accuracy. It requires a commitment and dedication like no other. In addition to working with the 500, she also volunteers for the Farmington High School Boosters and helps annually with the Mike Lee Holiday Basketball Bash. She's done much of this long after her own children have moved on from the program. And that, my friends, is a true volunteer. In 2006, we inducted her mother, Sandy, for her years of dedication to girls' youth sports. Bobby's volunteer work has spanned 3 decades, and that is why tonight she takes her rightful place in our hallowed hall. Ladies and gentlemen, the treasurer of the 500 Boys and Girls Club and our next contributor inductee, Bobby Gibbs.
I guess I was told that I can't just say thank you, so here it goes. I am truly humbled and honored to be inducted into the 500 Boys and Girls Club, an organization that is very near and dear to my heart. I began my days of volunteering as a young teenager helping Zeke and my mom when Little League softball, before it was combined with the Boys Club. And what a time we had. I loved coaching and I loved making a difference. I stopped coaching after I started my family, and I knew I still had so much to give. When my oldest started T-ball, I thought that would be a perfect time for me to get back involved. So I have worn many hats. Oh, I've been a PTA secretary, I was a team mom, and for the last 11 years, I am the treasurer. And many people ask when I will give that up. For now, I still like giving, so I'll be here for a little while. So with that, I would like to thank my parents, Zeke and my mom, my husband and my boys for always being there. Thank you.
Mark was a fun athlete to watch grow up. When he was in middle school, he was much taller than all the other kids, and everybody expected him to be tall like his dad. Well, Mark maxed out in 9th grade, and he stopped growing. He was 6'1" then, and he graduated at 6'1".
6'1", classic Farmington center, you know, 6'1", undersized, but you could never intimidate Mark. I mean, he played hard, he was fearless.
6'1" post player in an era where most of the guys he played against were probably taller than him in the paint. But man, was he tough.
His aggressiveness was his prime purpose. There was no one that was going to stop him.
Inch for inch, he was a fierce competitor.
He played in a lot of pain.
He had terrible problems with his knees. He grew so fast, he would put tons of atomic bomb in his knees and then wrap them just to play through that pain.
You know, it always like reeked of that Ben Gay kind of odor in the locker room. It was because Mark was gearing up for battle.
He really played 2 years of varsity, his junior and senior year. Had an average junior year, and then, as I said, senior year, he just blossomed into an excellent Class M player. In that final game, Mark was a man.
At center for Farmington, number 15, senior Mark Barney.
Seal almost took steps there. Barney from the foul line.
Hey. Turn around, he said, hey, I got an open lane, let's take a pop, and in it goes.
Barney just jumped way up and got a nice move on Adams, and it falls. 28-26 Mascoma. Look at that move by Mucher. Oh. Barney with the rebound. What a move.
Mark was the glue in all the little things that nobody really sees. It's just somebody that works ultimately hard.
took a little after his father. His father was a pretty good ball player too.
He's definitely a Hall of Fame athlete because of what he helped lead us to. So I think it's great that, you know, Mark joins alongside his father in the Hall of Fame. He certainly deserves to be there, no doubt.
Our next inductee is a proud member of the 1988 Class M state champion boys basketball team. One of the things that stands out to me about Mark Varney wasn't just Mark Varney the athlete, but Mark Varney the person. You see, Mark didn't belong to any traditional high school clique. Everyone loved Mark. And if you ask the majority of the high school student body at the time, they'd probably tell you that they came to the games to support their friend Mark Varney. Often seen bombing around town in his gray Toyota pickup full of mud, Mark was one cool guy. In 2014, we expounded on the toughness of Lynette Mosier Place in the late 80s. Mark was the male equivalent. As noted by Coach Lee in the intro clip, Mark often played with soreness and discomfort. And unless you were in the locker room prior to the game, you may never know it. For Mark left the aches and pains behind when he hit the court. His pregame ritual included pre-wrap and athletic tape and sometimes some kind of a knee brace and plenty of atomic bomb. But when Mark's 80s rock would hit and bellow through the gym, they would burst through the hoop. It was like a warrior taken to the battlefield. And what a warrior he was, often playing against post players much bigger and taller than him. He had something his opponents didn't. He had the heart of a champion. That heart helped lead his senior team to the championship finals where we beat Mascoma 78-70 to win the 1988 Class M crown. Who can forget Mark proudly marching around this gym at the welcome home party, donning his hardly fought for nylon necklace? In fact, one has always wondered, are the nylon nets displayed at Farmington High School in the trophy case actually the nets from the final game in 1988? Or does one of them have another spot that rests somewhere else in town? One can only speculate. Perhaps we'll find out tonight, or perhaps it will continue to be one of those small town mysteries. Ladies and gentlemen, the king of atomic bomb, a 1988 state champion, and now your newest member of the Farmington Sports Hall of Fame, Mark Varney.
I don't want to knock over the table like Bobby did. One of those nets that's in the trophy case is authentic. If you guys can figure out which one it is, you can have the other one. I want to start this off by saying thank you. This is an honor that I gladly accept to be considered as part of this group of people that are already members. It's amazing. To an outsider, they might say, really, Farmington? What's the big deal? Someone who'd ask a question like that obviously has never been able to experience anything like this. A little while ago, probably 6 months ago, Mike Whaley got in touch with me and asked me to put together a list of my accomplishments. I thought long and hard about it. The only thing I could really come up with was I was a kid that played sports. I was 6 feet tall in the 6th grade and could almost dunk a ball tail end of my Little League career. I was pretty sure I was going to go D1, big college. Fast forward 6 years, I could jump a bit more. I grew about an inch. Decided I probably needed another plan. I was just like many of the other athletes in small town America. The difference was where I grew up. In Farmington, you played harder and tougher than everybody else. That's because the fans were louder than everybody else's and the coaches were better than everybody else's. I was an athlete, but that was only a very small part of a much bigger puzzle. We were center stage as athletes, but without the community involvement and participation, there wouldn't have been a stage at all. Nothing was better than spending your Friday nights in a below zero weather in a hot, smelly gym packed beyond capacity and so loud you could hardly hear yourself talk. As a little kid, I thought this is how everybody's Friday night went. I didn't realize until much later that not everybody was that lucky. None of that could have ever happened if it wasn't for the community as a whole. Coaches coached, players played, fans got crazy, and Farmington usually won. And that wasn't just the team, that was the whole town that won. It's just the way it was. Maybe someday we'll get back to that era. Until then, the kids that are moving up through the system have no idea what they're missing out on. As I write this and reflect upon the past, it seems that most of the influential people in my life were already members, they're already synonymous with the 500 Boys Club. Jerry McCarthy, Paul Moulton, Dan Reynolds, Arvid Worcester, Larry Lover, Jim Black, and a whole list of people that I'm sure I'm forgetting. They were all brutally, brutally honest men that weren't afraid to tell you how it was. And that was in a time when you could be brutally honest without worrying about who you offended. No kid clubs with these guys at all. If you needed improvement in any aspect of your game or your attitude, they weren't afraid to let you know in front of everybody. Thank you guys very much for that. Mr. Lee, I've only got a few minutes, so enough said. Thank you. The whole 84 team that let us tag along behind them during the summer leagues and the pickup games, thank you. Constantly get the question of who was better. We know who was better. 70 team was better than all of us. And to anyone that had to stand in the batter's box during my last 2 years of Little League, I'm sorry. And to their parents, I'm sorry as well. I never hit anybody on purpose from Farmington. Last but not least, Mom and Dad, thank you. Without you guys, none of this would have been possible. Thanks, guys.
At this point, it's been pretty rare for somebody from outside of Farmington to be inducted into this Hall of Fame.
If you're an outsider looking in at Farmington, you wouldn't know that he's not from Farmington originally. He bleeds the orange and black, without a doubt.
When I started coaching at Farmington, he was my middle school coach, and which tells you something. I mean, he coached all those great players, and he started the ball rolling.
He helped us gain confidence and understand how to kind of step up to the next level. You know, and we'd get there and we'd be comfortable and he'd make us step up again. He was just the type that would get you to a comfortable place and then let you know that you could even do more.
I don't think there's a role in sports in Farmington that he hasn't held.
Coach,
A referee,
bus driver,
supportive principal,
The athletic director,
self-appointed custodian,
My boss,
teacher,
spaghetti supper man,
team photographer.
kept the scoreboard.
my daughter's godfather.
I think he had every role that you could possibly imagine in the Farmington school system.
But my favorite thing is that he was the original voice of Tiger basketball.
For whatever reason, he had the knack of just standing there and just turning the electricity up. I don't know how he would do it.
He would use that deep, drag-it-out voice to try to get people going, and it worked. People loved that.
We were all hyped up anyway, but to get Mr. Lewis and belting out good evening sports fans and stretching out the names when he announced them.
Oh, it's electrifying. I mean, the whole gymnasium was rocking before the tip-off.
There's nothing the man hasn't done. He has been a tremendous friend to Farmington, certainly a friend to athletics and the boosters and anything that he's been involved with, and he so much deserves to be a Hall of Famer.
Very deserving of this award, very deserving. He has gone above and beyond for the community and the athletic programs. He's just a good man, he really is.
Goes out there and does it for the community. Did it for the kids.
Butch Lewis deserves to be here because he came here and he is Farmington.
Our next inductee is known to all. For if you don't know Butch Lewis, you would have had to have been living under a rock in town for the past 4 decades. Butch has really done it all. He has worn probably more hats than any contributor we've seen thus far. He has coached, he has taught, he's been an athletic director, a principal, an advisor, spaghetti supper chef, referee, custodian at times, 500 volunteer, school board member, and the list goes on and on. In fact, if you needed something done, often things that others would say no to, Butch Lewis was the go-to guy. I'm not sure no was actually in his vocabulary. Butch coached baseball, soccer, and basketball at the middle school level, and soccer and softball at the high school level, where some of his players have been inducted and are being inducted here tonight. Of his many roles and hats that he wore, perhaps the most memorable for all of us was when he'd take the microphone and kick off every game with, "Good evening, sports fans." Butch could easily take the already raucous hometown crowd and put them in a fan frenzy before tip-off even happened. Maybe, just maybe, we'll hear it one more time tonight. Yes, there was no limit to what Butch Lewis wouldn't do for this community. He may be a Lancaster native, but Butch is as black and orange as anyone you could meet. I had the privilege of working alongside Butch for many years in our capacities as school administrators for the school district, and I can tell you this, no one worked as hard and put in as many hours as Butch Lewis. This school and its kids were his life. And Farmington's a better place because of it. And we thank him for remaining with all of us throughout all those years. Ladies and gentlemen, the original voice and introducer of the Farmington Tigers, and our next inductee, Mr. Butch Lewis.
You've never let me down. You've turned my life around. The sweetest days I found with you through the years. I've never been afraid. I've loved the life we've made.
Good evening, sports fans, and welcome to Farmington High School, home of your very own Farmington Tigers. Boy, does that bring back memories. It was this gym that it started out long ago that a cheerleader normally did that, and she was sick. I happened to be the athletic director at the time, and who's going to do it? Who's going to do the intros? Well, somebody on the cheering squad do it. No, I ended up doing it, and I said, well, all right, you're in for a treat, I guess. But that's how it started. And about 1978, I got the call from then Assistant Superintendent Bernie Davis. Need a job? Yep. Welcome to Farmington. And my career began in 1978 that fall. And I put in 31 years in Farmington and wouldn't change 1 minute, 1 second. Enjoyed every year throughout those years. It was about a year ago, I was listening to talk radio. And there was an educator from Florida laying in bed, dying of cancer. And she was an educator. And she wrote her own obituary. And through that obituary, she says, don't mourn for me. I've been an educator. And I've touched the lives of many. So we should be celebrating. And I look on that obituary and I said, you know what? How true that is. 31 years, 100 students in the class, 31,000 students I hope I've touched in one way or another. But more importantly, each and every one of them have touched me and given me many, many memories, from sitting next to Joel Shagnon on that score table. I don't know how we got away with the things we did. But to sitting in here. Back then, the ADs had to go around and do all the calls. Once they set the schedules, then you had to call the referees. And that's how the homies got started. Ray Martineau. Everybody remembers Ray Martineau. I'd call him up, how many games can you give me? And I'd give him the schedule. And then I'd go into this little room here, give them the checks, and they'd be talking. I don't know if they got you beat, Bob, but they would talk about, between Doug O'Brien and Ray Martineau, who's going to give Tom Hall the first tee, and they were betting six-packs. Those are the memories. And then all of a sudden, the memories of the bleachers, sitting over there, the sergeants, the Moultons, and all those people there. And it's right. I don't know how the referees did their game, but they had so much help from the audience. And it's great to go back all those memories through the years and seeing everybody here. I don't know what you kids are doing. I know you've grown up, but you all look the same. It's great to see this basketball team here tonight, bringing back all those memories that I have enjoyed throughout the years. And in closing, I'd like to thank the Farmington 500 Boys Club, because now I've coached all those years through the school system. I get a call from Danny Woodman a little while ago, about 4 years ago. Your grandson playing soccer? Yep. Guess who his coach is? So now I've started all over again, bringing up and doing the Boys Club soccer routine down there at the Boys Club field, and loving every minute of it, enjoying those kids and watching them grow. But in some of the memory lanes that come back, there has to be something given back to the community, because Tiger pride is very important to a lot of these kids that see it. Mark Meyer hit on it. They don't know what they're missing. And I think the youth of today are missing a lot, because they need to give back to this community and see it. This gym was packed. I saw Kevin Mosier somewhere here tonight, and he made a comment years ago when I was talking about the JV game would end here in this gym. They never went back in the locker room because, as Kevin said, we'd go back in the locker room to change. We had no seats left. They were filled by the time the varsity came out here. And boy, was this jam-packed. I mean, from every seat in the bleachers to, I don't know, that went all the way back out to the cafeteria and on the stage. And it was a sight to see those girls and boys games play. And in closing, I was always told at one time, on October 2nd, back in 1987, I was coaching varsity soccer. And I didn't happen to go to school that day because I had my youngest child being born. But I had a soccer game that afternoon, and I showed up. And there's Chuck Witten. Congratulations, Coach. Where's the cigars? Now, I call that dedication, loyalty, and so forth to be getting at that game. My wife called it neglected father. But as she always tells me, behind every great man is a better woman, and I thank my family tremendously. Thank you very much. It's a great honor. Thank you.
You've never let me down. You've turned my life around. The sweetest days I found with you through the years.
There have been just a few sister duos in the history of Farmington sports. The Langevin sisters, Sandy and Anita. And then there were McCarthy twins. And then Holly and Heidi Sorois.
To me, they didn't have any sibling rivalry at all. They were great, great sisters together. And that's a compliment and a tribute to both mom and dad.
They are two peas in a pod, and I say that not because they're necessarily their sisters, but they played a lot alike, and they were best friends. I mean, they could scream, at each other to do something, and they'd hug each other right after that. They were incredibly close.
I mean, it is fantastic that we are putting them into the Hall of Fame together because they were so close.
My first day on the job in Farmington was during the summer of '85, and that is when I met the Sorois sisters. They worked hard. I mean, you could tell right from the get-go that those would be two girls to help put Farmington on the map as far as girls basketball. Their drive was there, their intensity was there, and they had personalities to boot.
I started coaching them when I was a junior high coach. And one of my biggest mistakes was the first year that Holly Sorois tried out for basketball, and I cut her. I'll never forget it. And then somebody failed off partway through the year, and I brought her back on, and within one practice, she was a starter.
Holly Royce was a very good offensive player, classic scoring guard. She had a great nose for the hoop, had a jump shot. She fit perfectly in the way they ran things because that team was such an up-tempo team. And she was the perfect up-tempo guard for that team.
Holly did not have that finesse shot. It was that two-hand set shot. But boy, it went in.
I think Holly, she was the type that was so hard for opponents because she was one speed, one character. You never knew how to read her. A lot of people, if they miss shots or would turn the ball over, they get down on themselves, and as an opponent you could read that. And with Holly, you could never read what was going on in her mind.
The offensive threat was Holly, the defensive threat was Heidi.
The little sister, much more determined than Holly. I think she had to work harder at it. Holly was much more of a natural, where Heidi just fought to keep up with Holly.
She was quick, very fast, and defensively, she was so fierce.
She was also a very fierce player. She played very hard-nosed defense.
She was our defensive catalyst.
Her defensive tenacity was just, she was everywhere, all over the floor.
We played a lot of great point guards over the years, and if you looked at their stats, and they might have averaged 18, they definitely didn't when they played us. She was the type that would shut down players, and she was the front of our press, and when the basket would go in and you get ready to press, you were excited if you were on her side because you knew that person was coming to you, that she was going to do her job.
Our style of play was, it was a pressing game. We constantly pressed and played man-to-man, and they would just crush people.
So Royce comes away with the steal and the layup. 11-2, Farmington with a 9-point lead. Out of bounds, last touch by...
For them to be inducted together is just, it's going to be a real treat, and the Hall of Fame is very proud to be putting them in.
Before I begin, Zeke, you cut Holly Royce in junior high. What the hell was she thinking? Our next inductees are near and dear to my heart as we have been friends for close to 40 years. Holly, a 1988 Farmington High School graduate, and the younger sister Heidi, a fellow 1989 Farmington High School graduate. Together, they dominated the late 80s. Both played 4 years of high school softball and basketball. Holly, one of the major threats in Farmington's offensive arsenal. Heidi, the point guard and defensive specialist. The sisters Serois would help lead the Lady Tigers to perhaps the greatest program turnaround ever at Farmington High School. Holly, a Class M first-team All-Stater and named to 3 Christmas tournament All-Tournament teams. Heidi, honorable mention of All-State her senior year and also named to the Christmas tournament All-Tourney team. Both members of the 18-0 undefeated season in 1988. The team lost in the semis. The following season, if Farmington was to make it to the big dance, Heidi would have to do it alone and with no help with her sister by her side on the court. And man, did she ever. She was the floor general. And to anyone who was at that game or ever watched that game, Heidi left it all on the court at Plymouth State. In 1988, an article was written in Foster's Daily Democrat entitled, "Serois Sisters Lead Farmington." The article goes on to call Holly the general of a potent offensive attack, and Heidi the cornerstone of a full-court press defense that has demoralized and destroyed Tiger opponents. Coach Cheryl Chase at the time refers to Heidi as a defensive genius. Both sisters received many honors back in their day, but tonight they receive the highest honor bestowed upon any Farmington High School athlete. They have chosen to be inducted together. So appropriate. As we know, the Serois sisters did just about everything together. Tonight, for the first time in decades, the sisters Serois are back in their hometown gym. Please welcome home Heidi and Holly, the Serois sisters.
sister is making me speak because I'm the oldest, so it'll be quick, but it's basically the same theme that we've heard all night. So we, along with many in this room, were very fortunate to be part of the Farmington Athletics during a time when coaches could actually coach, and the support of the town played a crucial role in our determination and drive. Our confidence soared. Generations of families attended games, most nights standing room only. The number of young kids signing up for Pee Wee level sports was astonishing, and they looked up to us as the older kids with drive to play. Farmington did not have the best reputation, but the Tiger pride that was nurtured from young athletes to the senior level is what kept many students eager to be part of a team. The coaching, dedication, and support of the town had a major impact on us, and obviously everybody else tonight. Coaches such as Cheryl, Zeke, and Mr. Lewis were not afraid to point out our weaknesses and gave us opportunity to grow. Times like Zeke sitting in the front row going PU when you make a mistake. Cheryl bringing duct tape to practice so she could duct tape our strong hands. And Coach Lewis in his sliding practices. Every time, even times like these had a positive impact on us as individuals and team players, all of which inspired us to work hard and taught us commitment whether you win or lose. The dedication they gave us provided us a path for building leadership skills that we utilize today. We are so grateful to come from a town that took great pride in athletics and encouraged us to be the best we could be. The 500 Boys and Girls Club is the foundation of all of that, and for that we will always be thankful.
I feel like he's Farmington's athletic storyteller.
I like the stories, some of the stories. He makes them personal.
Mike would take a personal side, the inside, of which the normal person doesn't see.
He seemed to have an affinity to know the players, the teams.
He did it with a real fair vision and analysis as to what goes on behind doors.
He didn't always tell you what you wanted to hear in a sports story.
Sometimes things went overboard, and he let his readers know that maybe we should do it a different way.
If there was questionable behavior on the part of athletes, or there was something that he took exception to, he'd write it.
You can put a spin on things, get people thinking, but I don't ever think it's in a way that isn't appreciated by others.
He's coached, he's officiated.
For 10 years that I was doing it, would show up every Saturday and for 2 to 3 hours would officiate all the major basketball games.
He's served on the board of directors at the 500, serves on the Hall of Fame committee, but he's done some very unique things. The Cooperstown trip, the Wooden Bat Classic, the wiffle ball tournament. Look what he took, a little backyard wiffle ball game, and has turned it into a 20-team, 2-day event that people just, some people, it's the highlight of their year.
He's done a lot to help the sport in Farmington.
He's just such an essential part of our community. You know, I feel like he's at everything that's important.
Great athlete for Oyster River High School. Great athlete for Linden State, gets inducted into the Hall of Fame. But thank goodness he settled in Farmington.
Innovative, witty, thought-provoking, creative, a keen memory for detail, honest, unique, and an old soul of sorts. All ways to describe our next inductee, Mike Whaley. If Mike was a Farmington High School graduate, he'd be going tonight as an athlete as well. The Oyster River Bobcat battled the Farmington Tiger teams back in the mid-'70s, an experience he'll admit was always a daunting task. Later, he became a hoop star for the Linden State Hornets and was named to their Hall of Fame in 2005. But to our community's benefit, Mike Whaley settled here. Mike's involvement with Farmington began as a sports writer, but that involvement later went in many different directions. Why is he innovative and creative, you ask? Well, in 1990, he used a friend's side yard to create a wiffle ball tournament, the Courier Cup Classic. 27 years later, it has become a 20-team, two-day event that, to some who have admitted, is looked forward to more than Christmas itself. Although the tournament is always covered by staff writer Emily H. Wake, Mike is always nearby. Maybe, just maybe, tonight we'll catch a glimpse of the elusive Miss Wake. In addition, his creativity led to the creation of the Wooden Bat Classic, a popular Babe Ruth event which involved wooden bats and many local Babe Ruth standouts. Why is he honest and thought-provoking? Read his articles. They're not always about scores and outcomes, but rather take a critical look at times at questionable behavior or decision-making. For if it didn't seem right or something in the world of local sports seemed a bit fishy, Mike reported it as such. A keen memory for detail. While most of us struggle to recall what we may have had for breakfast earlier today, Mike Whaley can recall scores, scenarios, and game situations with infinite detail. His mind is like a well-organized reference book where he merely needs to flip to the right page. What makes him unique? His contributions make him unique. He is a beloved and respected sports writer, a co-host of local cable sports shows, a Babe Ruth coach, a volunteer umpire, referee, tournament committee member, Hall of Fame committee member, wiffle ball tournament founder and director, all-star coach, 500 board member, son, brother, uncle, partner, stepfather, and step-grandfather. And lucky for us, friend. And why is he an old soul? Well, I can tell you from firsthand experience, if you want to enjoy a good time and talk and think and remember, perhaps debate, and enjoy conversation about the good old days or swap around ideas for the future, grab a beer with Mike Whaley. You won't regret it. Ladies and gentlemen, our final inductee of 2016 and my good friend, Mr. Mike Whaley.
The story of my life, I'll take her home. I'll drive all night to keep her warm in time. It's frozen. The story of my life.
I've got to start this. I have to tell you the story about the first time I came to Farmington 45 years ago. I can remember bits and pieces of that first trip. I was in 6th grade at Northwood Elementary School. I played on the boys' basketball team, and we had come here to play in this very gym against Farmington. I have 4 vivid memories of that trip. The first was driving through town and seeing the Farmington High School basketball championship banner from 1970 stretched across Main Street. That was the highlight. We lost the game. I didn't score a point. The head cheerleader blamed me for the loss. I did, eventually. Carl Quinn was on that Farmington team. So was Randy Tatro and Tiger Vachon. Back then, I thought it was cool that a kid was named Tiger. Imagine my disappointment in high school when reading a tournament program to discover that Tiger's real name was Terry. Carl was also on quite a few other teams in junior high and high school that beat teams I played on in basketball and baseball. It's an honor to be recognized tonight with Carl. I've always respected and genuinely liked him as an opponent and a person. I also feel a connection with quite a few of tonight's inductees. I worked with the 500 on the Farmington 500 with Bobby Gibbs and have covered both of her sons as a sports writer. I covered Farmington High School soccer when it was coached by Butch Lewis, dealt with Butch when he was the athletic director, and remember him announcing with flair the starting lineups, as we have heard about for the high school basketball teams. I remember watching Larry Lover coach Farmington 500 youth baseball in Babe Ruth. I've known Bob Hodgson for over 20 years as a basketball official and also outside the lines. I remember Terry McGargan when he was alive and announcing games and events. John Doffany is a lifelong friend who I first recruited in the early 1990s, as we've mentioned, to design t-shirts for the wiffle ball tournament. I hold a special place in my heart for Farmington basketball. I got the chance to cover the Seroy sisters and Mark Varney the year I took my first and last full-time job in journalism with the old Rochester Courier in November of 1987. There have been twists and turns, but I've been in the business in this area ever since. That winter, barely 4 months on the job, I got to cover Mark and the Tiger Boys as they roared to the 1988 Class M championship with that 78-70 win over Mascoma. I also covered the Farmington girls, featuring Heidi and Holly. They went undefeated during the regular season and advanced to the Class M semis before losing to Newfound. The best season to that point by a Farmington girls team in the NHIA era. Not much later, I made my home in Farmington. I started the Courier Cup Wiffle Ball Tournament in 1990, and it continues to thrive to this day as a fundraiser for the Farmington 500. That first year, we held it over 2 days on John Nolan's front lawn on River Road. It slightly strained our friendship. So that site turned out to be a one-time deal. The least of it was the fallout from a diving wiffle ball player landing spread eagle on a prized hydrangea shrub. I wrote about the wiffle ball tournament, but since I was involved as a player and director, I thought it best to employ a pseudonym. John Nolan, bless his heart, came up with the best anagram of my name, and Miss Emily H. Wake was born, and has religiously covered all 27 Courier Cups. She still lives in West Alton with her 2 cats, Fred and Lynn. I coached and or served as an officer with the Farmington Babe Ruth League for 12 years and been a volunteer with the Farmington 500 even longer, working with some great people. Some of the Babe Ruth coaches have included Paul Boulay, Dan Davis, Don Dinwiddie, Larry LaVirtue, Nick Johnson, Ed DiPrizio, Dan Woodman, Butch Swain, Don Joy, Skip Leary, Happy Horrigan, Jerry Randall, and Tad Thomas, to name but a few. I was also fortunate to coach my stepsons, Dan and Aaron. I'd also like to thank some of the very special people I've been lucky enough to work with or get to know in this town. I can't thank all of them, but there are a few I'd like to single out. First of all, there is my good friend Joel Shagden, who I've known since I first covered Farmington basketball in the late 1980s when he was the biggest and baddest scorekeeper in Class M. The others, Reggie Charette, Mike Lee, Jocelyn Robinson, Sonny DiPrizio, Bill and Betty Vachon, Paul Moulton, Dave Mosier, all come immediately to mind. I tried to be firm and fair as a coach. I like the challenge of coaching a difficult kid. I remember one coach saying to me when I drafted a particularly tough nut, "Good luck with that one." I figured that was why I was there. We do kids a disservice if we don't, at some level, hold them accountable, especially teenagers. After all, I never thought it was too much to ask for players to be at a game at 5 o'clock for a 5:45 first pitch. Some kids thought 5:40 or 5:42 sufficed, and good for them. They learned to enjoy the game sitting beside me in the dugout. Sometimes it felt like there were 13 or 14 kids in addition to me on the bench, coaches on the bench, because as you know, teenage ball players really do know everything. I can remember one parent telling me her kid wouldn't be playing for me next year because I was too structured. Another time I had a player inform me in the second inning he had to go home for supper. "Don't worry, coach, I'll be back." Along around the 6th inning, I felt a tug on my sleeve, and there the player was. "I'm back, coach." I smiled at him. "Why, so you are." I officiated Farmington 500 youth basketball on Saturdays the last 23 winters. I believe I got started in 1993 when Paul Moulton noticed I was hanging around the gym watching my stepson's games and asked me if I was interested in reffing. Of course I was, and apparently still am. I have thoroughly enjoyed living in Farmington, coaching kids, working with the 500 and its parents and volunteers, and writing stories about its athletes and sports teams. In fact, I am now writing stories about a second generation from those parents I covered back in the day. Mark Varney's son, Mike, for one. Ted Healy's sons, Cody and Austin. The list goes on. And then there's my old basketball nemesis from junior high and high school, the affable Terry Vashon, who will always be Tiger to me. I played against him, covered his daughter, and in recent years have been covering his grandchildren. So thank you. I'd like to thank John Credo for nominating me. Thanks to Jill for her support and for being a superb editor. And thanks to Farmington for having me.
The story of my life, I'll take her home. I've drive all night to keep her warm in time. It's frozen.
Cardinal and Glidden, one of the best sponsors of local sports that Farmington's ever seen.
Cardinal and Glidden, you call them up or you go to their place of business and say, okay, we need a sponsor for softball or whatever we needed. The check was always there. They'd write it and you'd leave with it without ever a question.
That was constant with Cardinal and Glidden. I mean, you didn't have to ask. It was there. Malcolm and Ernie were fantastic. I mean, they done extra. They always seemed to do that little bit extra that, you know, only certain people knew about.
The Gliddens, the Christophors, and the Cardinals. And I'll tell you, when I ran the 500, they sponsored every sport.
And it could be for basketball, it could be for softball, it could have been for the 500 Boys Club. If you needed any equipment, they would throw a little extra in. They'd say, do you need anything?
To get the Ellison Award, we're looking at an organization, a company, or an individual that has been a benefactor of the 500 and Farmington Athletics, and Cardinal Glidden has been that for decades, you know. Great family, locally owned, locally run, and you can count on them. They've always been there. Great people, and they're very deserving of the Ellison Award.
Really good people that have helped these kids along the way.
Few businesses can boast that they've supported Farmington sports for over 40 years, and that is why only a handful have received the prestigious Ellison Award. The Ellison Award was established in 2004 to recognize a business or individual who has showed major generosity to local athletics throughout the years. Aptly named after our very first benefactor, Dr. William H. Ellison, who donated land on Summer Street when the 500 began in 1952. This year's recipient, a no-brainer. A locally owned and run business that included three very special families, the Cardinals, the Gliddens, and the Christophors. And what these families did was not only run a business in town, but have supported their community in any possible way that they could. Whether it's sponsoring tournaments, helping to purchase equipment, sponsoring teams, or placing ads, this local business has done it all. Not only would C&G just sponsor a team, often they would sponsor the entire division. And quite often, when you expected a check with a certain amount in the mail, you'd get a check with a larger amount. No questions asked. They are incredible business owners, supporters, but most importantly, incredible people and families. Families that represent what is best about Farmington. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we proudly present the prestigious 2016 Ellison Award to Cardinal and Glidden. Please welcome Rick Christopher, Chris Glidden, and his dad, Malcolm Glidden.
to say on behalf of Cardinal and Glidden, we thank you for this award. For as long as I can remember, we've been supporting the 500 Boys Club. It was always a joy to see Cardinal and Glidden names on the jerseys and the hats of the team. I really want to thank all those who generously donate their time to this organization to make it successful. We realize how much time and energy goes into making things run smoothly. We donated to this organization because we see that it's more than just supporting sports. It's about teaching children the importance of teamwork, about being part of the community. As a business owner, I feel proud to have invested in an organization that exemplifies volunteerism, team building, and good sportsmanship, and is a pride in our community. These are the qualities I hope our town is known for. I look forward to supporting Farmington sports and the 500 Boys and Girls Club for many, many more years to come. Thank you.
Quickly want to give a shout out to Ernie Cardinal, who had a day surgery recently and was originally planning on being here, couldn't be here, but special thanks to Ernie and Judy Cardinal as well, who are also part of that family.
I grew up watching my brother in the early 80s, and I admired the fact that you'd go to a gym and that place would be packed. You couldn't, if you didn't get there early, you wouldn't get a seat. You'd be turned away from places like Pittsfield because they had fire codes and they couldn't let everyone in. And you'd go to the girls, and it was depressing.
This young teacher named Cheryl Chase arrives on the scene.
It took them a little while to get used to Cheryl because, again, they came from me, who's pretty laid back, to, you know, the wild child. That's what I called her back then, because she was something like I'd never seen before.
The intensity in which she coached us definitely portrayed the intensity in which was being played on the court.
For interlegs, and here's the full court pressure we talked about by the Tigers, and they get the steal. Mosher, ahead to Gagne, all alone, yes.
The culture was, you know, we're going to work hard, thus work hard, never die.
I try to motivate people to go beyond what they think they can do. So we just said, you know, you work hard, never die. You just, no matter what, you never give up.
I think having a team motto was important. I don't really remember how it came up, but I do remember it was just something, and you know, we'd be having a rough practice and you would just look at somebody and you'd say, work hard, never die. You know, they'd have a bad game when they were expected to do something, and it's like, you know, work hard, never die. It was just something that we always knew that we could fall back on.
The way I looked at it was it gave the girls' teams in particular identity, of which they lacked for many years.
I don't know if she would have ever guessed how that would have caught on, not only with just the 12 girls in the court, but with the entire student body.
Whenever you went to see a game, there was always a lot of younger girls there to watch them play. They wanted to emulate what they did.
And thus the stands were filled with little girls who would drag their parents to games and to watch their heroes play.
She was able to make girls basketball an in thing in such a short period of time.
She took control of the little girls' youth program, which just flourished.
You know, by my sophomore year, we were starting to see people were finally in the gym at, you know, 6 o'clock for the tip of the JV game. And, you know, by middle of my sophomore year, people were packing the stands. We finally had people on the bleachers, and I think that made us even better. You know, we had people that believed in us and, you know, wanted to see what we could do, and I think it made us play harder.
Instantly, you saw a change in the style of play. It was sort of more up-tempo, and there was more scrappy defensive play. You know, then they ended up going undefeated, and they go on this run of winning games against teams that we could have never competed with in previous years.
I think going into my senior year, we knew that we could definitely make some noise.
Tonight's Class M State of New Hampshire basketball final. The Farmington Tigers with a record of 20-1 to face #1 seeded Mascoma, the Royals, also at 20-1.
They had the Soroy sisters, you had Jen Gilman, Kelly LaPointe, Julie Gagne, and Lynette at Place.
The whole experience from start to finish was something you'll never forget. Remembered walking out of the locker room from the side door going, oh my God. There wasn't a place to sit. There was even people like still walking in trying to find a seat.
Yeah, it was packed. That's when Farmington got out the ball games. The whole place was jumping. You know, I mean, pretty well took one side up.
You know, walking onto that floor and looking, it was unbelievable to look in those stands. The whole town was there.
They held the indoor attendance record at John C. Foley Gymnasium for biggest crowd at that game against Mascoma.
We still hold the record for Plymouth for the most people that have been in the gym.
It was absolutely amazing to see that many people cheering and supporting the girls.
They were in it at the end, they get into overtime, and there was a travel call that wasn't called at the end there, but they could have won it.
The girl that scored the basket go-ahead traveled, so therefore we should just eliminate that right now.
I mean, the end of the game, when the girl traveled, yes, she did. And Mike Eno after the game said, yeah, she did travel.
We ended up down at the last few seconds, and Heidi tried bringing the ball up the court and making a shot. She was about the half-court mark when she launched it, went in and out.
In and out. And unfortunately, we lost to Mascoma in that last championship game. But
I thought it was going to go in.
The minute I saw her leave her hand, I really thought that was going to go in. I felt, I thought we deserved it. We deserved that ball to go in the basket. We'd worked so hard for so long to get there. So I really thought that it was going to be in our favor.
That buzzer went off and our hearts broke.
You always say, what if? What if I did this? What if I did that? But in the end, they did really well. Yeah, it was very somber on the way home, till about halfway.
And then all of a sudden, one of the greatest things, in my opinion, in Farmington sports happened.
Coming down Route 11, all of a sudden all you could see was red lights everywhere. And I think we're all like standing up, or like trying to look out the windows, and we were like, wow, both sides, fire trucks, everybody there to greet us. And it's like, but we lost.
Everybody was out in the street, yep, hollering, had a big parade, yep.
They paraded us through town. They were proud of us. It didn't matter that we lost, they were just proud of us. And then we get to the gym and it's packed.
tough loss, but it was all about town pride. Because I think the sports program in Farmington through those years really brought the community together.
They did win a championship that night. They didn't get to hang the #1 banner, but man, Farmington girls basketball, Farmington sports was on the map.
Each year we acknowledge and honor a team of historical significance to Farmington's long winning tradition and storied past. And to this point, the teams of the NHIAA era who we have honored have been state champions. That changes tonight. And Lynette was right in the intro clip. I recently checked with someone who knows the facts up there at Plymouth State. It still holds the indoor attendance record for fan attendance. The reason being is it broke fire codes that evening. And fire codes are a little more strictly enforced now, so you'll never see that attendance record broken. It will live forever at John C. Foley, unless they add on to the building. Tonight we honor a team that came up just a couple of points short of becoming state champs. However, they were and continue to be our champions, our Class M girls state runner-up team of 1989. They were, without a doubt, the very best basketball team in the NHIAA era. How could we forget that season, that tournament run, that final game, or that final shot? If you heard about the season, it's great. If you lived it, it was even better. They defined work hard, never die. And so tonight, we proudly reunite the girls of 1989. I'm going to call them off and call them up to come up here one at a time. The list was prepared for me, so if someone's missing, just give me a wave and I'll get you up here, but I think everybody's accounted for. And I'm going to introduce them by their maiden name as well, so that everyone knows who everybody is. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 1989 Class M runner-up girls. Hit the music. Nicole Moody. Number 20, Kristen Varney. Number 40, Ruth Ann Hiltz-Gutowski. Number 30, Dawn McDonald Weeks. Number 22, Signe DePrizio Duggar. Number 24, Stacy Goodwin Reynolds. Number 10, Bob. Number 5, Sir Royce.
I can't tell you what a thrill it is to be here with my girls. With my girls. There are certain moments in your life that you truly remember and it never goes away. And it makes a significant impact on you as a person and how you act and how you move forward in your life. These girls truly are my girls. They really are. And when I first started, and I try to think about when I was 22 years old, coaching, when I started coaching, I'm like, who was I to come in here and try to make a difference? It really wasn't about me. And a couple of years ago when Lynette was inducted, she used the word lucky. I was lucky. I truly was. It was like I won the lottery. It was like a perfect storm. I came in when these ladies were just beginning their high school careers, and I was just lucky to be here and be a part of what they had to offer. They gave it all, and I think what makes them different, what makes them be a part of this Hall of Fame, because there are other teams, as Joel said, that won championships. So what makes them so special? I'm going to tell you what makes them so special. Everything they did was for the greater good of the team. Everything they did, they put up with me, and I will admit, I was not easy back then. I apologize to them all the time for how I was. But they didn't give up. When I, made them run after a game once, and I know that sounds evil, but it wasn't because of how they played, it was because of their behavior during the game. They may not remember that, but that's what it was. They came on Saturday mornings for Pee Wee and coached. It was just what they did. It wasn't they didn't cry about it, not to my face. And they did it with pride and enthusiasm. As soon as they woke up, they were cheering and yay for the kids. There was never a complaint. I didn't have a parent phone call saying, my baby has to work, so they can't be there. It was just an expectation that they did. When we had late practices that went a little later than probably some parents anticipated, they didn't complain. I didn't have any complaints. To be honest with you, I never had one parent ever in this era come up to me and complain. That is huge. That is absolutely unheard of, and it's a testament to the parents, and it's a testament to them. It wasn't that they just won. They gave it everything they had, and they deserved the W's because of everything they put into it. And as I became a mother of 2 daughters that participated in sports, they were the expectation. They really were. When they went home on the bus for rides, and I had my own daughters go on the bus for rides home when nobody else on their teams would take the bus home. And I mean that. My youngest daughter would take pictures. I'm all by herself on the bus. Mom, I'm still the only one. But it was an expectation for them, and they didn't complain. As a matter of fact, I had them, some of them wrote me letters about the importance of riding on a bus. I don't know if some of you remember doing that for me, so thank you. Because I showed them to my children. See how important it is? They set the bar. They're an amazing group of women. Look at them. They are class act. I am so incredibly proud of them. They are my girls, and it wasn't about runner-up. You are champions. You are true champions, and I can't tell you I love you so much, so thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I open up the mic to the girls. We have some girls that want to say a few things.
I think the biggest thing is I've come to many of these, and I watched my brother come in as a champion and my husband come in as a champion. And obviously, we're not going in as champions, but you cannot find a group of more dedicated, more hardworking, and more competitive ladies than you have right here. So I'm very proud to be part of this class.
I wrote something down because I'm really bad at winging it. So, and I didn't want to get thrown under the bus by these guys, which they already did to me earlier. They're like, "You're speaking." Awesome. So I just wanted to speak for all of us in that we're incredibly honored to be up here tonight and being recognized. And it's most valuable to us because we're being recognized as a team and awarded as a team, which is exactly how we played. We had teamwork and hard work and commitment, and we played as one unit and one family. And this is one special group of women that, with all of your support, helped shape all of our lives, basically while we were in high school, but then, beyond that as well. Our lives will forever be connected by a very special time in our lives. Obviously, I'm getting choked up, sorry. That you all observed us enjoy. We are who we are today because of all of this, and we would not have accomplished this, or even 50% of what we accomplished, if not for everyone in this room. Not for everyone in this room, and for all the people that established an incredible history of support with athletics, and the people that we could follow being great athletes in the room as well as great supporters. So thank you very much.
Anyone else? I would put this team on the court right now. Look at them. They are in tremendous shape. We need an alumni game. Your 1989 Class M runner-up girls. Okay, we have one more element of tonight's event, and that is our popular slideshow that we're going to play in just a few moments. A reminder, if you are the Ellison Award recipient, or if you have received a Moulton Medal of Honor tonight, or you are one of our inductees, one of our individual inductees, during the slideshow, I would like you to make your way to the back hallway here, right over here on the right-hand side, so that I can talk to you for just a few minutes so that we can end it in a very appropriate way. So we're going to hit the lights. You can meet me out back in a couple of moments, and we're going to have our very popular slideshow.
Yeah, you can be the best. You can be the King Kong banging on your chest. You could beat the world, you could beat the war. You can talk to God, go banging on his door. You can throw your hands up, you can beat the clock. You can move a mountain, you can break rocks. You could be a master, don't wait for luck. Dedicate yourself and you gon' find yourself standing in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. And the world's gonna know your name. Yeah. 'Cause you burn with the brightest flame. Yeah. And the world's gonna know your name. Yeah. And you'll be on the walls of the Hall of Fame. You can go the distance, you can run the mile. You can walk straight through hell with a smile. You could be the hero, you can get the gold. Breaking all the records they thought never could be broke. Yeah, do it for your people, do it for your pride. Are you ever gonna know if you never even try? Do it for your country, do it for your name. 'Cause there's gonna be a day when you're standing in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. And the world's gonna know your name. Yeah. 'Cause you burn with the brightest flame. Yeah. And the world's gonna know your name. Yeah. And you'll be on the walls of the Hall of Fame. Be a champion. Be a champion. Be a champion. Be a champion. The walls of the Hall of Fame. Be students, be teachers, be politicians, be preachers. Yeah. Be believers, be leaders, be astronauts, be champions, be truth seekers. Be students, be teachers. as we roll down this unfamiliar road. And although this wave is stringing us along, just know you're not.
I call you, I need you, my heart's on fire. You come to me wild and wild. You come to me, give me everything I need. Give me a lifetime of promises and a world of dreams. Speak the language of love like you know what it means. And it can't be wrong. Take my heart and make it strong, babe. You're simply the best, better than all the rest.
This is Terry McGargan saying thank you, good night, God bless, and go Awesome Tigers, you're number one.
Just one quick program note. When the ceremony ends, Mike Whaley would like pictures for the Fosters, and he'd also like the 1989 team to stick around for pictures for the newspaper as well. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes tonight. But one more final thing to do. Now, for the very first time, I'm proud to give to you the Farmington Sports Hall of Fame class of 2016.
Yeah, you can be the greatest, you can be the best, you can be the King Kong banging on your chest. You can beat the world, you can beat the war, you can talk the guy, go banging on his door. You can throw your hands up, you can beat the clock, you can move a mountain, you can break rocks. You can be a master, don't wait for luck. Dedicate yourself and you gon' find yourself standing in the Hall of Fame. And the world's gonna
There they are, folks, the class of 2016. Thank you for coming until 2018. Good night, everyone.
You can run the mile, you can walk straight through hell.